Hey guys, this is test 65 game 1. This is the student's piano recital game. It is an ordering game. We know this because the rules tell us that people perform earlier and later than others. Therefore, there must be an order in which they perform. So I've laid out the 5 variables, F, G, H, J, K here, but I haven't really put anything else down because the rules are all relational. So I'm simply going to create a main diagram that links the rules together. So we start by telling us that G is earlier than F, so I put down G dash F. Next it tells us that K is earlier than both H and J, but we don't have those variables on our diagram, so I'll skip that rule and come back to it when we can hopefully link it into what we already will have by that point. Next rule tells us that F and H touch, so we've got F is with H, or H is with F occurring consecutively, meaning just in either order. So either it's FH or HF, but either way, those things have to occur before J because they are a unit. They occur together. Now the rule that I skipped, K is earlier than both H and J. So we've got K earlier than H, meaning that it's earlier than the FH-HF box. And also K is earlier than J. So here we have G and K are both earlier than the FH-HF unit, and K is also earlier than J. So this right here is our initial setup for the game. Now question number 1 is a typical orientation question. So we just want to take one rule at a time, apply that rule to all 5 choices, looking for violations. So we start with the fact that K is before the HF-FH thing. Scanning through the choices, A violates that, K is after HF. That's unacceptable, so A is gone. Scanning through the others, in B and C and D and E, K is before the HFFH thing, so we're good on that issue. Next, we can use the rule that G is always before the HFFH thing. Scanning through the choices, obviously B and C are both good because they have G first. In D, we have G before them, but in E, we have G after them. That's unacceptable, so for that reason, E must be eliminated. Next, we could use the rule that H and F always have to touch, in either order. Scanning through the choices, we find that choice C has J in between H and F. That's unacceptable, so C can be eliminated. And we're down to B and D. Now, finally, we can use the rule that K is before J. So scanning through the remaining choices, we find that B has J before K. Unacceptable, B is gone, leaving D by elimination for number 1. Next, number 2, if J was earlier than G. So they're further limiting the possible state of affairs here. Now, K was before J in the main diagram, but it could have been anywhere at all. J could have been even as early as 2 or as late as 5. It was relatively flexible. Now they're limiting things a great deal by taking J and putting it before G. So I know that they seem very far apart on this diagram, so we'll have to draw something new. So I'm just going to start by putting down the new limitation that J is before G. Now we know that K is, because that's what they told us for the question. Now we know K is before J, so K will have to come earlier than it. And since G is before the FH-HF thing, I'm going to put those guys after it. Now we don't know whether it's HF or FH, but either way, they always occur together. And of course, by putting HF-FH after G, we are also putting it after K, as must be required. They never said it had to be immediately afterwards, so this is still complying with all of our rules. So what could be true? Could we have F fourth? Yeah, if we had F before H, F would be fourth, and we have 3 things before it, K, J, G. So we'd be good, and A is our answer for number 2. I will look at the rest, though. Could we have G on 2? No, G has at least 2 things before it, so G will have to be third since it is also definitely having 2 things after it. Could H be third? No, H has at least 3 things before it, K, J, and G, so the earliest H could ever appear is 4. Could we have J on 3? No, J could only have 1 thing before it, and always has 3 things after it, so J has to be on 2. And then could K be 2? No, K is before everybody, so K has to be 1. And A is our answer to number 2. Next, number 3, general cannot be true question. We'll just run through the 5 choices. 4 of them could be true, so find the 4 that could be true and eliminate them, and whatever remains will be your answer. So could we have F immediately before J? Yeah, no reason to think we couldn't. We could have J coming on 5, H and F on 3 and 4 respectively, and G and K on 1 and 2 in either order. That could work fine, so A is gone. Could we have G immediately before H? Yeah, we could have G, H, F, then have K earlier than that, and J later than that works fine, so B is gone. Could we have H immediately before G? No, G is always earlier than H. It could never be the other way around. So for that reason, C is impossible and is our answer for number 3. Again, remember that G must go earlier than F, and since H and F have to touch, that means that G is going earlier than H as well, necessarily. Looking at D, J earlier than G, immediately before G, J immediately before G. Could that work? Yeah, we could have K on 1, J on 2, G on 3, HF on 4 or 5 interchangeable. That was our diagram for number 2, so of course it is possible. D's gone. Then looking at E, K immediately before H. Yeah, we could have K, H, F, J, and then have G in 1. That could work fine. So it'd be G on 1, K on 2, H, F on 3, 4, J on 5 works, so E's gone, leaving C if you didn't get it before. So question number 4 is asking us, what would completely determine the layout of the variables, leaving no ambiguity at all? So we want to find an answer choice that is especially limiting, talking about variables that relate to as many other variables as possible, because if you lock down a variable that's very powerful, you're bringing along other variables with it. So for example, K right here is the most limited or powerful variable in the game, depending on how you look at it, because K is related to H, F, and J. No other variable is related to 3 others. So for that, in this way, I mean, H is and F is, but we don't even know their particular order. K we know is before H and F, K we know is before J. So a choice mentioning K would be where I start here. And so choice E mentions K, so I would start with that. If we put K immediately before F, what would that do? Well, we know that F and H have to touch, so for that reason, H would have to go immediately after F. We know that K is before J, so these 3 right here are a box. They occur consecutively in that order. I'd have to put J after it because K is always before J. And since we know that G is before the HFFH thing, G is going to have to come earlier than the K box, giving us a very defined order: G on 1, K2, F3, H4, J5. So this fully determines it, making E our answer to number 4. I will look at the rest though. So looking at choice A, if we had F immediately before H, so let's put that down. We know that G has to come before it, we know that K has to come before it, and we know that K is coming before J. But look, these are not all in a straight line like they were for choice E. We still don't know who's first, for example. The first variable could be either G or K. The last one could be either J or H. Rather open-ended, still not fully defined, so A is eliminated. Looking at B, G immediately before F. So if G was immediately before F, of course, we know that H will have to come after that because F and H always touch in that order, so this is determined. We know that K comes before the HFFH thing, and we know that K is before J, but who's last? Could be H, could be J. J could be second immediately after K, or it could be last. We don't know, not fully defined, so B is eliminated. Next, C, H immediately before J. If H was immediately before J, we'd have to have, of course, F coming earlier than it, because F and H always touch. So we have F, H, J occurring consecutively. We know that K is before J, and we also know that G is before the HF thing. So we got to have G before this whole box. We've also got to have K before this whole box. So who's first? Is it G or is it K? We don't know. Could be G on 1, K on 2, could be K on 1 or G on 2. We can't say, so C is gone. And finally, I'll look at D, J immediately before H. So if J is immediately before H, of course, we've got to have F coming immediately after it because F and H have to touch. So this right here is a box, J, H, F. But who's going first? Could be G on 1 or it could be K on 1. G's got to go before the HF thing. K's got to go before J and the HF thing. So still ambiguous. not fully defined, very similar to choice C, by the way, if you see right here. So not defined, not fully determined, D is gone, leaving E is our answer to number 4 if you didn't get it before. Finally, question number 5, how many people are there who could appear fourth? So I want to think first about who can't appear fourth, and that's G and K for certain, quite obviously, because if G and K were fourth, how could you fit both F and H after them? You wouldn't be able to. So for that reason, G and K are automatically knocked out. The earliest you could even conceive of having them is third. So I'm going to eliminate choices E and D off the bat because it can't be all 5 people, and it can't even be 4 because we've knocked both the G and K out of the running. F, H, and J remaining. Now F and H are interchangeable here. They're exactly the same, no difference between them in this game. So I'm going to leave them alone for now and look at J. So could J be fourth? I'm going to lay out 5 spaces and we'll see if J could fit on 4. If J was fourth, of course, we got to fit K within 1, 2, and 3 coming earlier than it. We know that G's got to be for both F and H, so G's not going to be on 5. G's going to have to be earlier than it as well. Now we got F and H remaining. They're the only people who could potentially go on slot 5, only the problem is that F and H have to touch, and they're not able to touch if they are on 5 because J's in the way right there on 4. So for that reason, both F and H have to be good here, and J is bad. So J can't be on 4, F and H can, so 2, choice B, is our answer for number 5. Now I will definitively prove why F and H could be on 5 just to show you. So let's say we put F on 4. I'll prove that F and H could be on 4. If F is on 4, what would happen? Well, I want to put F and H touching, so I'll just slap down H on 5 here, and then I'll have K, I'll have a J on 3, K on 2, G on 1, just to prove that it works. Complies with everything. K's before J, K's before both H and F, G's before both H and F, everything checks out fully, and of course I could have put H on 4 instead, and F on 5 instead as well to prove that either one could go on 4. So you see here it works, so both F and H are good, the others I disproved, so 2's our answer, choice B, for number 5.